Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and I know I made that Aghs Scepter item guide yesterday, and it's kind of a vague thing because obviously each item is very unique to each hero because it gives you a new ability. And so I thought that I would actually divide all of the heroes up into those four categories like I talked about. So it's going to be a tier list, but not exactly a tier list. It's not like, S through F or whatever, but it's very similar. And so I just thought I'd go through each of these. I basically have the four that I talked about: every game, good later, not every game, but most. Situational, sometimes. Nah, bro, I'm good. And no one has ever bought this item, so I don't know what it even does, really. I don't know, sue me. So we'll just go through all of these, and we'll start off with the S tier, or basically you're buying it every single game tier. So we're starting alphabetically here, and the first one is Bane. And basically with this hero, yes, it's hard to get Aghs, don't get me wrong, because the hero doesn't do farming, clearing waves, or farming jungle that well. Yes, you can do it, but basically you want to get Aghs every game. Like, if you're going to be an effective Bane player, you want to get Aghs as like a second, third item because it's just so effective on the hero. And yes, I know you got to get a Force Staff. You got to get a Glimmer Cape. You got to get some other item. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you have to buy on this hero, and it doesn't farm very well, but you want to get Aghs. It's like fundamental to what the hero does because it just makes it so much better. Like, getting a grip off with Aghs is so much different than getting a grip off without it. Unless there's a silencer in the game or like some other hero like that, then sure, it's not going to be as effective. But for the most part, you're going to buy it every single game. Same thing with Beastmaster. Even though Beastmaster has been nerfed a lot, drums is just fundamental to the hero. Like, you're buying it every single game these days. It's just what the hero does. I mean, even if you go for getting a creep and getting an ancient creep with Helm of the Dom, like, at some point you still want to get Aghs eventually. But it's just been fundamental for what the hero does in the build for so long. Same thing with Bristleback. You're getting it as a carry, you're getting it as an offlaner. You're just getting it every time because it just does so much damage. It's ridiculous. Like, maybe if you're going for the goo build, you won't get it, but that's very rare. Then we have Darkseer. The punch is just insane. It's just like fundamental to what the hero does. You want to buy it every single game, maybe second, third item. It's just so good. Without it, it's just not the same hero, and it's not very good. Then I put Death Prophet up here, and the reason why I put Death Prophet here is because even though this hero has been good in the past without buying Aghs all the time, I think the reason that it's good now, and it just got nerfed recently, is because the Aghs is so good. And honestly, you want to buy it every game just because with that attack speed talent and everything, it just makes it so much better. I will say I could hear an argument for, just because of the recent nerf, it dropping down to this tier and not buying it every game. But then at that point, I think if we're not buying it every game, it just feels like, I don't know, maybe this hero is actually not that good. So, and it goes back into irrelevancy. It's just hard to exactly to say. But I still put it up here just because I think it is so good. But without that slow, it might actually drop out of the S tier, or, the first tier that we have here. Then next we have Disruptor. And yes, this isn't a hero that's buying Aghs like second item, but you definitely want to buy this every single game. And the only reason that you get it later is because you're a support hero that just doesn't farm all that well. It's kind of similar to Bane in that regard, but you want this every single game because it is just amazing. It's like core to the kit of the hero, just amps up what the hero does. So every game you want to buy it. There's just not really a situation where it's not good, to be honest. Then next we have Earthshaker, and I know the Aghs on this hero isn't super popular as a support hero at least, but it is fundamental to the core Earthshaker mid or off lane, and so I think it's just so valuable that I'm going to put it up here that you want to buy it every game. And even on support, you would like to have it, even if you're not going like full right-click build or anything, obviously because you're a support, but it would be great to have. It's just that you're not going to have that much money. There's other things that you want to get, but you would still probably get it late game. Like, I would even put it in good later, but not every game as a support. But because as a core, which is honestly my favorite type of Earthshaker, I prefer it as a core, to be honest. So that's why I'm putting it up here. It is fundamental. I think evening the support in this tier versus the like core in this tier, I would just want to put it in this tier. So that's kind of my explanation for that. Then we have Elder Titan, and again, it's one of these weird Aghs because as a support, if you're playing this hero as a 5, it's like, do you have the money to spend on it? And it's like, well, I want to get it at some point. It's just like, maybe I'm just so poor that all I do is I'm just an aura bot and I just stomp a little bit, I guess. But that's not the ideal. That's not what you want to be doing. So you want to get Aghs on the hero, even as a support if you can, to do some damage. And then if you're playing core on the hero, you're definitely buying the item. It's 100% like the reason that this hero can even play core at all, even though it's not super popular as a core. It's just that is fundamental to the hero. Same thing with Gyro in a sense. I mean, these last three have had that kind of weird tweak where they have a support and a core build. I would say the support kind of just play style in general, or even picking gyro as a support is not popular enough that I'm not really considering that. And it's a must buy every single game the Ags is on core gyro. Like, you're buying it every game. You might be buying it second item, but you're like buying it first or second almost every time. And so that's why it's definitely just obviously up here in this tier. Then next we have Huskar. And yes, this hero isn't buying it as like a second item or anything. There are 3 or 4 items that you want to buy ahead of Ags on this hero, but it is just so good and so fundamental that when you get to that later portion of the game, you just want to have Ags, because you're basically just single targeting a hero and just deleting them. Like, you might not delete them in the full duration of the stun, of the taunt, but they're gonna die pretty much, unless there's like an oracle or something to save them. Then obviously that is a different kind of situation, but you just want to have it overall. And you can even buy it like second or third item, to be honest. Like, you could go Armlet, Sange, and then right into Ags or something if you feel like you don't need to finish the Sange, if you don't need to finish the BKB, you know, that kind of stuff. If you just want to go straight into extra lockdown for whatever reason, you can totally do that. But you basically want to be buying it on this hero every single game. Then Jakiro, I don't know if I would say it's as good as maybe Bane or the Disruptor, but it still is right there. Like, if it's not as good, it's just one little tiny tick below that. And when you get to the portion of the game where you have a defensive item or two, you still want to buy this every game. Like, there's really no reason not to buy it. Without the Ags on this hero, it's just not nearly as good of a hero. And we also recently saw in the recent patches that Ags was just completely broken. And yes, they did nerf it a bit, but I still think it deserves to be bought every game as like a third item or so. So that's why I'm putting it up here. Then Jug, having that extra small little ultimate, is just good every game. Like, there are some games where maybe you're not going to buy it till a little bit later because you want some damage first, you need your farming item, you need Manta, you know, whatever it is. But still, you want to have Ags. Like, yeah, sure, sometimes you want to play for spin, or sometimes you want to right-click people, but having Ags is never a bad thing. Like, it's always going to be amazing at some point, just depending on the timing. And honestly, the balance of the hero is kind of designed around Ags at this point, because it gives you that second ultimate that you don't have to waste your full ultimate at times, so it's very, very good. Kunkka's a weird one. I was actually considering putting it in good later, because I actually spammed this hero a few patches ago, and its Ags just doesn't feel as good as it sometimes should be, or some games it feels insane, some games it feels like a little bit mediocre. But the problem is you're not really ever going to skip it. And so even though it is a little bit awkward at times, you'd rather have the giant torrent storm thing that it used to have a year or so ago. But still, the double boat is just so good that you're probably not going right-click on this hero very much, and if you're playing Kunkka, you just want the boat. It's extra control. It's so good. You're probably buying it every single game. Although I could hear arguments for it being down here, I still think double boat is so good. Then Legion, it's one of those where you're getting that free BKB. It just makes your duels so much more reliable. You're guaranteed buying it like third item or something. It's just fundamental to the hero. Maybe you'll buy a regular BKB first, but there's almost no situation where you won't buy Ags these days. It is just so good on the hero, and it makes the duel longer. It does everything you want. So honestly, most builds you see like Blade Mail, Blink, and then straight into Ags pretty much like 90% of games. And then even if you're not doing that exact build, you're probably getting it like one item later or something like that. Then Lifestealer, even though the Ags was nerfed, no longer disarms, it's still so good that you pretty much want to buy it almost every single game. I would say, yes, I could hear the argument to put it a tier lower now because it doesn't disarm, that you need to have like some extra, you know, escape or something, or there's other items you might want to buy. But I still just think that ability to jump inside an enemy, heal yourself, and do damage to them is so insanely valuable. There's a reason it was nerfed and it no longer disarms. It's because it's just like too good. You just want to have it. Again, maybe not as a second item, obviously, but you're going to get it at some point pretty much every single game because it is just so fundamentally good. And that's the same thing with Medusa here. Yes, you aren't going to get it second item, but you're going to get it at some point once you hit your like 4 or so items, and now you just need a little bit of that late game extra push. You're going to get it every game. And every game, like reasonably, as long as the game goes, like as long as you don't lose or you don't win before you can even get there. But if you get there, you're going to get there. Like, you're going to buy it, period. End of story. Not really a question. It is kind of fundamental to the hero. Even if it is a little bit later, it's still fundamental. Meepo, I think the Mega Meepo and the Dig, both the Ags and the Ags Shard, are just fundamental to the hero now. Like, you have to have them on this hero to make the hero even semi-viable, and otherwise it's not even really viable at all. So I think it's just part of the core of the hero. Same thing with Necro. Like, technically you could devise a way where you don't go Ags, but honestly, that's just not good. Like, you want to get heart, you want to get ags, you want to get radiance, you want to get all these items. Sure, if you're playing off lane, it's a little bit awkward sometimes, but that's why I don't even think the hero's that good of an off laner, and really shouldn't be picked off lane unless you're going like giga greedy mode and you're just buying ags and radiance and boots of travel and going all the greedy items anyway. But then sometimes you can grief your team. But if you're going like mid, typical, normal necro build, you're getting ags every time because it just pumps out insane amounts of damage. Then we have Ogre, another one that's kind of like the support where, sure, it can be sometimes hard to buy the ags occasionally, obviously, but because this hero does like to buy Midas and stuff, you're going to get it every game. It's just so good. Like, you want to have that extra stun. It's amazing. Yes, it's a luxury item in a sense where you have to be rich, kind of like Bane, but still, you want to get it every single time. Pango, it's fundamental to the hero. I just don't see a game where you don't buy it because it just amps up the kit that you're already using and makes it so much better with the disarm or with the proccing of the double jump and the proccing of swashbuckle and all the different stuff. I don't know why I said the disarm, but you know what I mean. And everything like that. It's just kind of insane. If you get Basher, if you get Maelstrom, if you get anything, it's just so good on the hero. Like, why would you not buy that? Then Rubik, another one where it's like a luxury item, right? But it just amps up what the hero already does. You want to buy it every single game. It's just like, yeah, sure, you might not get there. You might not get the items. It's like, same thing with all these supports. Yeah, you might not get the items, and yeah, you might not rush its second item, but you still want to get it every single game. Like, it's just almost mandatory. And then Sand King, I was debating this a little bit, but I still think that because in the past there was the builds where you could go different Sandstorm builds and like buy Bloodstone and you don't really need ags. Now, I think all that stuff is gone. I think if you're picking this hero, you're buying ags every game. I just think that's how the build works now. Like, you're buying Blink, you're maybe buying a tanky item or two or something, but then you're going ags. Like, that's just what the hero does now. I think it's fundamental to the hero. Same thing with Slark. Like, there's maybe a theoretical world where you don't buy ags, but that's only because maybe you just don't want to buy its second or third item. You want to get something else here, but you're going to go back for it because 2 pounces is just way too good. The extra distance is just way too good. Like, it's again, fundamental to the hero. If you took the ags away, it would just make the hero absolutely terrible, and you have to get it almost every single game. Then, sure, you don't have to buy it maybe every game, maybe on Spectre, but let's be honest, you pretty much do. Like, yeah, again, it's kind of like Medusa. It's kind of like these late game heroes where are you getting it like early? No, of course. But I mean, hey, you could even go Radiance, Manta, and then get it pretty early, like as a third-ish item. So you can totally get it, but maybe if you're going for the non-Radiance build, you won't get it as early, but you're still going to get it. Like, if the game goes long enough and you get your items, you are going to get this at some point, and you're going to get Refresher at some point because it's just what the hero does. It's just fundamental to how this hero works. Even though the ult is still pretty good, you want Haunt at some point. Then with Timber, the Ags just makes you super tanky, where like the tankiness of this hero kind of fell off. Like, they changed reactive armor a little bit, both in the lane and in the game in general. So you're not really as tanky as you used to be in the past because building up stacks is a little bit harder and stuff like that. But now because you can go Ags, which just makes you basically unkillable, to be honest, that's just like absurd. Being unkillable for that amount of time is ridiculous. And then the damage that you do while you're unkillable, but then also after it ends, is also ridiculous. So you're just getting it every single game because it's one of the only things that makes the hero viable in some ways. Again, it's like these heroes, if you took the Ags away, it's just a dead hero. Where as we go further down the list, if you take the Ags away for these heroes, it's like they maybe they're not as good, or they might just be the same, or it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? So these Ags are just so fundamental, so good on the hero that you must have to have them. Same thing with Tinker. Like, sure, if you're support Tinker, maybe you're not buying it super early, but like, you want to get this every game. It's core to what the hero does. Now that Laser's really like your only real damage spell, you just have to have Ags to do damage, to be honest. Like, yeah, you can go for Dagon, like, and just upgrade that, but you need the Ags to do extra damage. And sure, your March does some damage, and you can go for, like, the support heal build, but even so, like, you'd love to transition into more damage. That's just fundamental. And then Venge was the one that I used in the video that just, like, this hero is built around Ags. If anything, this is probably the SSS tier. It's, like, way up here, because without it, it's just not the same. It's just not even a hero anymore, to be honest. Like, you're rushing it as, like, a first or second item, no matter what position you're in. Like, unlike even Earthshaker, where it might be down here as a support or something, it's just all the way up here for support or core, or no matter what you're doing, it is what the hero does now. Then Visage, you're going to want to get Ags at some point. The Invis and just doing that on the hero is fundamental. Yes, of course, early on in the game, you're not playing around Ags, you're not rushing it, but the only way that the hero doesn't really fall off is because you can transition into having things like Ags and stuff like that and make more plays around the map. So that's why you pretty much need it, even if it's not like the first item you buy. And then this might be a little bit controversial, but I actually think Void Spirit needs Ags. Again, it is similar to maybe even like a Medusa or something, or a Spectre, where it's like you're not getting it as a second item, although you can. There definitely are builds where you can get it as like a second, third item. But at some point in the game, it's too good to not get. Like, you just have to get it at some point, and I think it just makes the hero so much better that I don't really see you skipping it very much, unless you're going like pure crazy right-click build, and even then, I don't think it's really viable to skip the item. But again, I could hear an argument for it to be down this tier. I just decided to put it up here, though, because I think it does, warrant that. And then Warlock support, like, you just want to buy it. It's similar to these other supports. Yeah, it might be hard to get there, but you want to buy it. It's, like, fundamental to what the hero does. Very, very good. Same thing with Zeus. Like, you're going to get Nimbus at some point. It is what the hero does. It's like a second ultimate, pretty low cooldown. And it's like with Jug in a similar way. Like, it kind of is a mini ultimate that's a lower cooldown that doesn't have to have you waste this long cooldown that you have on your big damage ultimate. So it's just fantastic. You're going to get it all the time on Zeus. Then the next tier, the good later, but not every single game tier, I would put Abaddon here to start off, just because it's great if you're going for the healing support Abaddon. And I still think it can be good as like a super late game item on core Abaddon, but basically because it is a not so great core Abaddon item. Like, if you were just playing Abba support, I think it's every game. But because Abba's also being played core more recently, I'm just putting it here. Axe, again, this is an item that you're going to buy a lot, I would say, but you don't have to buy it every game. I think later on in the game, sixth item, fifth item, you're probably going to get it at some point. And I think it's becoming more popular, but you don't have to. Like, there are other things that you can get if you feel like it's not a good game for Ags on Axe. Then Bat Rider, I think the double lasso is very good, don't get me wrong, but it just, some games feels like you're not going to have a great opportunity to get the double Ags off or the double lasso off, so it's just kind of like, oh, do I really want to spend the gold on that? And a lot of times you'll just get through the entire game, even if it does go late, and you'll not buy that because you're playing support maybe, or you're playing core and you just feel like there are other things, like Sheep is just going to be better or something like that. You want these other things rather than Ags. Although eventually, like with every single hero pretty much, there's a point where, yeah, it's 60 plus minutes, you're going to get it. And that's kind of the same with all these, but not every single game. And then I would say you could argue for Bounty to be in every game. But again, there are builds where you can focus a little more on right clicks. If you are a core, you maybe don't have to buy it. If you're a support, maybe you don't have the money to buy it, want to buy other items that allow you to just like run in at the other supports. It's just obviously super luxury. You love to have it, but I think there's just too much other stuff that you need to get in certain games on Bounty. Where like these other, let's say, supports like Disruptor and Bane, like the reason that they might not get it or finish it every single game is because it's just not going late enough and they're not rich enough. Bounty, it's more like there are a lot of other things that you want to build to make sure that your hero does what it does, and Ags is just a giga luxury item. That's how I would describe it. Then the problem with Panda is, with Brewmaster, it's just like, are we going for just focusing on using our ultimate and that's what we want, or are we going for the build with the Ags and the little panda running around? I think in the past when it was like wasn't it like a double Ags, you would probably put this in every game tier, I think at that time, but then when they changed it and give you your little buddy, it's hard to say because I just don't think Brewmaster's that good. I think if Brewmaster becomes good, it's probably going to be because the Ags is broken, and then at that point, I would be comfortable putting it in every game. And maybe you are a Panda player and you're just saying like, hey, Brew is good and you just need to buy the Ags every game and that's the build and that's just what it is. You can't live without it. I could hear you out with that. I just think right now, because it's not the best hero, I personally think, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I just don't think it's the best hero. I don't see it very much, that kind of stuff. But again, it's like one of these weird niche specialist heroes. But yeah, I just don't think that the Ags is really where it needs to be. Just be like the fundamental way you play the hero every single time. That's it. Same thing with Clock. It's kind of like a luxury item. You can totally get it later. You'd love to have it. But again, it's sort of like a bounty in this way. It's a luxury item that you're not going to have every single time. There's other ways to play the hero, so that's why it's good, but it's not every game. And that's the same thing with CM. Like, I just don't think the ultimate does enough where it's like the same tier as, Disruptor or Bane, where you just have to have it. Even something like a Jakiro where you just like have to have it. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's great. You want to have it, but sometimes it doesn't actually do anything. Like sometimes you're just going to get the ult canceled in the same similar kind of way, and the small movement speed doesn't really do anything because people have a lot of movement speed. So it's like they're just getting out of it, and you know what I mean? Like, so sometimes your ultimate isn't what you're doing in a way. Like sometimes it's great to have like a small ultimate, but you don't really need to have the Ags. You can just jump in with Blink or whatever, get your ultimate off for a little bit on one hero or something, or maybe a couple, and you're fine. That's all you need to do. And having the Ags doesn't really do anything for you. And then with Dark Willow here, it's great to have. It does a lot of damage, but again, it's very luxury. Sometimes you can't afford it. You want to get it, of course, especially as a core, but as a support, which is what this hero plays a little bit more, it just doesn't feel like... It feels a little griefy to kind of transition into this right clicker. And so that's why I put it here. Although, even though it's not that great of a hero right now, maybe you could argue that you want to buy it every game, even on a support, because you're also buying it on core. Like I could hear that argument, but still, I just think it's one of those things that as a support, you don't want to see your support Dark Willow really going for it all the time. I think it's a little bit grief at times. It's like, dude, can you just please buy other items sometimes? And then Drow, it's great. Don't get me wrong. And you can buy it a lot. I think you'll see it in Drow's inventories a bunch, but sometimes just not worth going because you just need more defensive items, really. It's like, I just need all this defensive stuff to lifesteal, to pike out, to have a manta. You know, I need BKB. I just need all these defensive items because at the end of the day, if I'm sitting there and clicking, I'm doing a bunch of damage. And then let's say like you get 4 or 5 defensive items, and then the last item that you need to get is like crit, or maybe you do have a damage item in there, kind of, which is Butterfly, but it's also sort of survivability. You know what I mean? So you don't really have any time to go back for the Ags. And so then maybe, yeah, you would get it in every single game if it went 80 minutes, of course. But that's why it's like situational, I would say. And then the same thing with Ember. I would say it's like one little tick down from Void, although I actually had it in every game first. And I thought, actually, there are some paths and some builds where you're not going to get it every game. If you're going like a right-click Ember and stuff like that. Although, again, I could completely argue. I was really waffling between this because I think that you can totally win and play the game without it. But it's just, it is going to be so much better that I'm a little bit torn. But regardless, it's one of these two, and you're going to be buying it a lot. Don't get me wrong. And then Enigma, it's great, but you know you're going to buy Blink and you're going to buy BKB and you're probably going to buy a refresher and a Lincoln's, and you know you might even want another item mixed in there, maybe an early item, maybe you're getting a drums or something. You know what I mean? There are just different builds, and they're like, sure, you're going to get Ags super late, and it is going to amp up your damage, and it isn't bad, but you're probably not prioritizing it really for the most part. It's like Giga Luxury. And then that's the same thing with Faceless Void. There are a lot of other items that are just good, and if it's not an item where you're playing around, you're jumping in and jumping out and stuff like that, then Ags isn't great. Again, 60 plus minutes, you might buy it, or, you know, whatever, if you have nothing else to spend your gold on, but you're not really legitimately buying it every single game. It's very situational in that way. But it is very, very good. There's not too many games where you're just like hating it or whatever. And you do like it in a lot of games, and you might even like it as a 5th item. But again, there are just some times where it's just not like you're doing all of your damage in chrono. And so that's why it's only here and not up here. And then Grimstroke, it's like awkward because, yeah, sure, it's good, and some games it just owns, and the illusion that you create is just like destroying people depending on the matchup. But then sometimes it feels like, does that really do that much? And is it really doing as much as like Disruptor ult? You know what I mean? It just feels awkward. I think it also is because Grimstroke's not as good of a hero, but it is still very good. That's why I put it up here. So you do want to get it later. It's just not every game is the kind of thing. Invoker's a weird one because they've kind of changed how Ags works a little bit. So I would say, like, you could say every game you're getting it if you're going the Exhort build with the Exhort facet, but are you getting it every game on the other facets? I don't think so. I'm not a huge Invoker player, but I don't think you're getting it on anything other than the Exhort facet. Then we have Keeper of the Light here. Again, it's pretty good. It obviously is good control, but if you don't really need more control on your team and you're focusing just on other stuff, I don't know if you're going to get it every time. If you're going for a core Keeper of the Light build, then you want to be buying more damage and stuff to amp that up. And so that's why it's not every single game. I think especially because core, it's not up here. And then support, you still might just not get the money and not really want it. It's not like you're rushing it and you just have to have it like a disruptor. Then we have Kez. Kez is at a weird spot. I don't know how great the Ags is overall. Maybe a Kez player would inform me better. But I think you can get away with just not buying it. And you don't really need it to like switch to everything. You can just go straight damage, straight carry, just be a normal Kez and be fine. And so that's kind of the problem. Is like, do you really need to switch between everything that much? I don't think so. I think you can just have the standard Kez build. Go carry, do damage, and just be glass cannon and be fine. And then Leshrac, actually, I looked it up. I just paused before doing this, and I looked it up again because I feel like every single time I always forget that Leshrac actually doesn't take more damage when he goes into that ethereal form. And I always forget that because obviously that's just typical for Dota. But I think because of that, you still want to pretty much buy it every game later on into the game. Like you're going to be getting it at some point. I mean, technically, I think you could argue that it's back here because we don't see it every single time. It is pretty luxury, and there are a lot of other things that you want to get, but I just don't see a reason why it's not up here. Because you don't take that extra damage from, and basically you're attacking, you're just a normal, like getting Ghost Scepter or whatever. It's like the same kind of thing, and you actually get more increased movement speed. So I just don't see why you wouldn't want to buy it, even though it's not like second or third item or something. So I could see it still staying down here. I did put it down here originally. I always forget that you don't take more damage, but yeah. Then we have Lone Druid. Sure, it is great late, but there's just so many other items that you want to buy, and it's just kind of like cheesy to like disconnect yourself from the bear. I mean, it is good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I just don't think it's the best. I mean, it's like a 60-minute split push kind of thing. That's just like a cheesy, you're losing the game, you need to have some way to get back kind of thing, and so that's why I'm putting it down here. Then next we have Luna. I would compare this like against something like Medusa, where buying Ags from Medusa is like fundamental to the kit. It upgrades what Medusa wants to do. Where Luna, yeah, you can totally buy it, especially as a support, obviously, but we're kind of ignoring that. Luna, you could even buy it as a core, like third item or something, but there are a lot of games where you'd rather just get all of your other items, and then the only time you're really buying it is like 60 minutes or whatever, where you just have too much gold, you don't know what to do with it, and then you're just like synthing an Ags, and so that's why I'm putting it down here. Monkey's kind of a weird one because there are builds where your Ags is just super, super good, and you're going to get it because it helps you farm and do more damage and everything, and I think you do want to get it in a lot of games, but then again, it's kind of one of these situations where there are a lot of other things that you want to buy, and you just never have the time to go back or resources or slots to go back for it, and so like, it's the same thing with Luna in a way. It's like, yeah, we'd love to have this extra damage and stuff, but is it really that good? And so that's why it's down here. Then Nature's Prophet's a weird one because like the Nature's Prophet core is kind of dead. The support version like kind of buys Ags every time. So I guess maybe support, you could put it up here because it does really like define the support hero, but core just is never bought pretty much ever. I mean, maybe you're playing like an offlane split push. I don't know. It's just weird. So that's why I put it here. I think it's a good spot for it. Like I said, as a support, you're probably buying in almost every game, but as a core, not really. Then OD, again, another one where it is great to have. It just makes you super tanky. But if you don't have any problems with dying, like if you don't feel like I'm getting focused, I'm dying, you just don't need it, right? Because you're just dishing a ton of damage. Maybe all you need is a BKB and you're just hexing people and just blowing them up and you're just winning the game without it. Like there's just no need to go back for it. It's really only in the games where you feel like you're losing or you need to defend or you're just getting focused, that's when you can go for Ag. So it's a good like way to have something to go for that makes you tankier to get off more damage later or whatever. Because let's say like you're the only hero on your team doing anything, but you don't have to have it in every single game. Then PL is a weird one because they just changed it. I'm going to put it here because people are still experimenting with it, still buying it. It might still be pretty good. And I kind of said before in the tier list that I was wrong, and maybe it's actually going to be great now. But it is hard to say. I also put it as like one of the I think one of the better heroes, one of the winners of the patch, because I think it has had some success, but it's just still not an every game thing. I still think that it still isn't the best. I probably would have put the previous Ags up here, to be honest, because it was the only way it was viable, and now I'm just not so sure. That's why it's going down here. Then for Phoenix, super luxury. Sometimes there's just no one that you need to save. Sometimes it just doesn't really do much. You're wasting your gold on it when you could be buying something else, like probably a refresher, right? I mean, yeah, super ultra mega late game, you're going to be getting it, of course, because it does help, because why not? But sometimes, a lot of times, just extra things to spend your money on or better things. And then for Primal Beast, I just think that if you want to break, obviously it's very good, so that's why it's situational. It does do more damage. Sure, you're going to be getting it in a decent amount of games. I don't think Primal's the best right now. Maybe if he was good, we'd see the build with Ags every single game, but I don't think it necessarily defines the hero, just kind of like amps it up. So you could totally get away with not getting it, I think. And then same thing with Puck. Like if you're going for a more split, pushy, magic damage, run around the map, be annoying, you have Blink, you have Yules, you have all this other stuff, then you're not going full right click, then you don't really need Ags. At some point, you probably will get it anyway, but if you're going more towards the right click version, then yeah, Ags is great. And so that's why it's like, do you go full annoying build, or do you go like initiation, annoying, magic damage build, or are you going more right click build, and then you'll go Ags? And then Pudge, the only reason why I put it here, even though it is like an every game for core Pudge pretty much, Support Pudge is pretty much more popular, even though Support Pudge, you could argue, might be worse than the Core Pudge. Just depends, honestly, on the patch, and right now it's just kind of even right in the middle. But because you're not buying it on Support ever, that's why I'm putting it here, to be honest. I think it just deserves it right in there because Support is so popular and you pretty much never buy it. Ricky's a weird one because this hero is just not popular at all. And I think you want to buy Ags like every game on core Ricky. And I think that is something where Ricky should be a core every game. Like that just should be what the hero does. And so technically I think as a core, it might be up here. But people do try to play Ricky support. And that could kind of be a thing maybe, even though it's not great right now. So that's why I sort of put it down here just because of that. Plus, even if you are a core, like are you rushing it every time? I mean, you're going to get it eventually. So I guess I was just trying to talk myself out of that, but I still think, you are going to get it just because there is the possibility of support that I'm putting it down here. And honestly, because it's just that Ricky's a weird hero, like maybe you could say the same thing about Gyro, but because Gyro is just solidified as a good core and people just don't play it as a support, and that's kind of a meme, I feel comfortable putting Gyro up here and Ricky down here. Then Ringmaster, I just think it's great. There are a lot of other things that you can buy, and I don't think it's as impactful as these other supports up here. Maybe you could argue like it's as impactful as Ogre, but I just think because Ogre has better ways to farm by buying Midas pretty much, that there's other things you might want to buy other than just getting the double save. And then the kind of same thing, it's almost the same item in a way with the Shadow Demon, but really I think it's just that, do you need the break? Because if you do, which a lot of times you do, so that's why it's very good. But do you need that? Yes. If you don't need it, I don't know if I'm really buying it because, again, other things I could buy, but that's why it's in the second tier. And then Skywrath, it's a weird Ags, to be honest. Like, it amps up a bunch of different spells, but doesn't amp them up in that. It's good, but it's not the best thing ever. I mean, sure, if you are a core, you're going to get it because it's like part of amping up your damage. But if you're a support, you'd almost probably rather get just like a bunch of defensive items, and it's not as important as, like I said, these other supports up here. So it's just a little bit awkward, and that's why I'm putting it here in the second tier. Then Slardar's one where you would think that Slardar should be buying Ags every game, and I kind of agree with you. I'm like, this seems so good. But because Slardar kind of wants to permabash people in a way, and I know that's a little bit of a meme, but in actuality, that is kind of what you want to do. You want to like jump in, bash, stun, and keep bashing people, and the Ag's just weird because you're kind of saying, I'm sitting myself in this area. And yes, the stun is low cooldown, so it just amps up what you're doing in that area. But the other thing that the hero does is you run around and you chase people around, and you're like a mobile hero in this way. So I think the Ags is just a little bit awkward at times. And so that's why I don't think you get it all the time because, you want BKB. You maybe want AC. You want, Blink, BKB, AC, and just other items that are just going to amp up your damage, amp up your attack speed, amp up your tankiness, which Ags is one of those, which is why I put it up here. I mean, I could hear arguments for it being up here. I just think that there are games where you're going to skip it because it feels a little bit awkward and like it doesn't do very much. And then we have support here with Snapfire. There are games where it feels great, where you feel like you need extra initiation or you want to throw somebody in. But if there's no real situation where you want to throw anyone in, sure, you can throw a creep. But is it really worth spending that amount of gold to just throw a creep for some stun and damage? Like, not really. So you want to have a target on your team that you want to throw in for initiation. If you don't have that, it can feel a little bit awkward. And then for Storm, it is great in a lot of situations. You probably do want to buy it in most games, but it's really not core fundamental to the hero. There are situations where you're not really jumping in on a bunch of melee heroes that are grouped up. And so sometimes it's like, I'm not really in that situation where the Vortex and the AoE is really not going to be effective in this game, so I don't need to buy it. I'd rather get some other things, more survivability, more damage, that kind of stuff. Same thing with Sven. I think it is very good, especially for killing supports and all this kind of stuff, like jumping in and just making sure you stick on people and all this kind of thing. But sometimes you don't even need it. Sometimes it's good. Your regular kit, your regular damage, sometimes everything is good enough, like buying Blink and jumping in and just stunning people and killing them. That's all you need. And so you don't even need to get Ags. It's not really that important. But in some games, it is very important later on, especially after you hit kind of your peak and you've already farmed a bunch. It's just that's the problem. It's like you kind of want to farm, end the game, get these items that allow you to do what you need to do, and stopping by for an Ags just decreases the damage, and you really want to be bursting people. So yeah, it can feel a little bit awkward. That's why it's only here, but it is great. Tree, it's like Giga Luxury. You would love to have it, of course, but it doesn't have the impact of one of these other supports. So that's why it's, again, weird, because it's like, I would love to have it, but am I really spending the time to farm this just to put like vision around? You know what I mean? It just feels bad. Like, oh, maybe if it's turbo, or maybe if the game goes 70 minutes, sure, but not too often do I feel great about saving up the money and spending that time on a hero like Tree to farm that. And then Troll, it's great, but it's another one of those things, I think kind of almost like in a Slardar sense, or kind of like in a Sven sense. I just want other items. Like sometimes the dispels on the enemy or me, it just doesn't do anything. It doesn't feel that great now because I want something else. And so I just don't like to buy it because whatever. And then, yeah, later in the game, maybe I'll get it or whatever. Or, hey, maybe there are games maybe where you just go for like no real farming item and your Ags is your farming item. I've seen stuff like that, but I don't think that's really viable these days. And so I'm not really counting that. And even if I was, if you're going the normal build, I just don't think it's great all the time. And then Tusk is here because I think it's an amazing Ags. If you're going support, it is hard to buy, but there are like core Tusk builds where you don't really go it because you're doing more damage. That's the first thing. And also it's a little bit harder to farm on the hero, I think, generally, and you want some other stuff. But if you are going support, if it does go late, you do want to buy it. I don't think it like defines the hero in the same way that it deserves to be up here. Underlord, and I think like Tusk and Underlord, you could argue for me, like with me, about putting it up here. Because Underlord is such a weird hero where like, what is this hero doing? It's super awkward. People are trying to bring it into the meta, and every time it happens or it feels like it's coming into the meta, it just like falls out again because people realize it sucks. And you could make the argument to me that the only thing that it does is actually get the Ags and have like AoE pits on them, like all around the map and stuff and whatever. You could make that argument to me, and I could listen, and I could think, wait, this actually is what defines the hero, and it's the only way that it's viable, so it could go up there. But because it's really doesn't feel super viable and doesn't feel like it's something that is great, then I'm putting it up here. Then we have Undying. It's a pretty good Ags, don't get me wrong, especially on core, but on support, you're just not buying it. So I think it deserves here. I mean, you'd love to buy it on core if you could, but you're just not spending the gold. Same thing with Venno. Like, you'd love to buy it. It's just sometimes it's not important on support and you're not getting it, and it's not as impactful as these other supports. Then Wind Ranger is a similar story. You're buying it on core pretty much every time at a later portion of the game, but on support, it just isn't something you're buying almost ever, and so that's why I put it there. I would say it is deserving of up here on core, but yeah, support doesn't really buy it. And then I think the same thing with Winter Wyvern is on core, you're buying it every time, but that's not as popular anymore. So on support, you're not buying it every time. But even on support, it is good to get it eventually, I would say. So that's why it definitely deserves here. Like, you probably want it in most games. It's just that, you know, support games, sometimes you don't have the items, like you don't have the gold, you don't have the necessarily solo kill or kill items that you're going for as a support, and it's not as impactful as these other supports, so it's just awkward sometimes to go. And that's the same thing with like Witch Doctor. It's like, yeah, this hero does a lot of damage, getting the Ags would be great, but doesn't really impact the game in the way that these other supports have impact in the game. I don't think so. So it's super luxury and you don't really need it. Then Wraith King, if you're going like ultra mega carry mode, you don't really get the Ags. If you're going more off lane build, you will get it. So that's why it's up here. I think for off lane, and even for off lane build, I don't even think off lane build it's necessarily all the way up here. Because you can even go more carry from the offlane like and not buy it, but it is more core on the offlane version of the hero. And then for the situational heroes, the situational Ags that are semi-viable, not the best, but not the worst, we have Alchemist. Obviously, late game, you're going to buy them here and there, but it's kind of whatever. AA, if you're like a core or super late game, sure, you'll buy it, but it's like, again, kind of whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter too much, especially as a support. Like, you're half the time just going to be sitting back anyway, not running in and like right-clicking people. Then Arc Warden is kind of a weird one. I'd probably have to talk to an Arc Warden player more because like who plays this anymore? It's just like a dead hero for now. So I honestly didn't even know what the Ags did. I kind of forgot, and I looked at it and I was like, this seems okay, but are you buying this? Like, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, this hero does get rich pretty quickly, so maybe you are, but I'm putting it in situational for now. The weird like web thing for Broodmother is kind of awkward. It seems like it should be really good, but then people aren't really buying it. Like, again, you kind of almost want to focus on yourself and your spiderlings and just like killing people and doing right-click damage and surviving in that way. So are you really going back to spend gold in this like weird kind of thing with your webs and like trapping people? I don't know. I don't think it's that great. Then Centaur, I'm putting it here. You could maybe even argue up here like it's getting more popular, but it was all the way down and like you never buy it as terrible tier. And so it's kind of working its way up to like you can totally buy it. It's just I don't think it's a most game kind of thing. Same thing with CK, a little bit awkward. You're probably not buying it as a carry, although I know I see Gork do it and stuff. And yeah, there is the build that you can go that, but it's just a little bit awkward. It's just like I'm going to freeze everybody's, like tank everyone's FPS to 2, freeze everybody's computer, hope somebody gets kicked out, and that's how we win. Like that's kind of what you're doing in a way. And some games just awkward, doesn't feel like it does anything, so you'd rather go for other items. Same thing with Dawnbreaker. It's like people were buying this a lot, I think a few patches ago, and people realized like, sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes my ult is good enough. I don't need to like prolong it or time it or do anything. Like I can just ult in and that's all I need. Like the presence across the map is all that really matters. The heal isn't really the most important thing. The save isn't all that big of a deal, or whatever. Maybe the save that it provides anyway, just by default, is good enough. Like sometimes the ult is good enough. And then Dazzle's kind of a weird one because yes, I guess you could say that it is like in a way fundamental, like one of these tiers, maybe even up here as a core, maybe, but the core is kind of dead now. They kind of killed it. And it's not even picked anymore. So then as a support, you're never really buying Ags. So that's why I just put it here, because it is sort of a dead hero and kind of weird. But I mean, that's why it's awkward. Because like I feel like it's getting played more as a support now. And so that means it's down here. So it's like, because I put it down here because the core is dead and the support never buys it. So that's why I think it deserves this. Next we have Doom, and Doom is a weird one because you would kind of intuitively think, oh, this is good. The AoE, it should be up here, right? I don't think it defines the hero in any way. Yes, Doom defines Doom, of course, but the Ags, like the AoE, doesn't define it in this way, obviously. I just don't think it deserves up here. And I actually don't think it deserves here because I think it's like not necessarily overrated, because I think people have realized that, wait, this actually doesn't do anything and it's actually kind of bad. Like I think people kind of realize that, but occasionally you will have people that like think that it's good and will just like rush it or buy it super early or think that it's going to have huge impact. And I just feel like every time I see it, it ends up doing nothing. Like you could have just had normal Doom and it would have been the same, or you like put it on yourself and it's like, well, this did nothing. And maybe that's like user error kind of thing. Like it's just because the people playing it suck. I don't know. That could be the case, but that's why I'm putting it down here, because I think it's just like even still overrated. And then Hoodwink, again, it's like weird. Like I was even maybe going to put Hoodwink in the tier below, like this thing kind of sucks, but that's more just like the product of Hoodwink kind of sucking. And so people have tried it. I have seen people buy it. And yeah, it can be annoying. Yeah, it's kind of like weird and can do some damage or whatever, but like, I don't know. I think maybe if Hoodwink was like really good, like S tier hero overall, we might see Ags be like the reason that it was good if they like buff it or something. But as of right now, it's just like, I don't know. What are you doing on this hero? Like, yeah, sure, you're going maybe right-click build or something, but even that feels bad. I think it's just because the hero's bad that it feels bad. Then Io, if you're going carry build, yeah, you're buying it. Otherwise, you're never buying it. And so carry build's kind of dead, I guess. So that's why it's down. Situational. The AoE Sinister Gaze is good sometimes. Sometimes it just is like you're not doing it for any reason. Like, again, people aren't grouping up. You're just Sinister Gazing one person anyway, so who really cares? Lena, are you going magic build or right click build? And magic build is kind of dead now. Sure, late game as a right clicker, you're going to buy it, but I don't really count that. I think there's two main builds, and the magic build is just not as popular. Otherwise, if magic build was super popular, or even when a magic build was broken, it was getting picked every game, I would probably put it up here. Because that kind of like went away, now I'm putting it down here. Lion, I almost would be tempted to put this in like dog poop tier, never buy it, but that's a little bit obviously wrong. That's why I'm putting in this tier. Yes, you can buy it. If you're a core, you can buy it. Don't pick Lion core. I think it sucks. But yeah, it can be good as a core, and as a support, it is a super giga luxury thing that you can get, but I just don't think it's worth saving up the money for it. And so I hate when people try to get it, because it's like, dude, you're a support. Just buy something else, please, to be honest. Unless it's 70 minutes, please buy something else. Then Lycan, you just have to have somebody that you can bite. Sure, yes, you can bite people a lot. There are a lot of good carries and stuff, but sometimes you don't have that. And I also think because Lycan's kind of just a whatever hero, that it feels like, I don't know, like, are you really spending this gold to like amp up one of your allies when if the hero's good and you're playing it right, you're kind of just like rushing people down and killing them by yourself? I don't know. That's why it's a little bit awkward. It has to have the right hero on your team and be the right situation. Next, we have Magnus, and now the Ags is Horn Toss, where people weren't even buying Horn Toss anymore on the shard. So now they made it an Ags, and I don't think they really did anything to it to make it good enough to be an Ags purchase. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it just seems kind of bad. Like, you already have... Now, yeah, I know that going Echo Saber and everything, like, when you upgrade it, the, like, pull-in now can be, like, disjointed or whatever and stuff. So that's not as good anymore as it used to be, but... Are you spending the money for Ags for this? Like, no. Like, I just don't think that's happening. And then people have tried to do the Mars Ags, but it's just like, it's kind of a meme. Like, I know in the past, I think Amar tried it like years ago, and people were like, oh, this might actually be good. And I think they nerfed it after that. And now it's like, are you really buying it ever? Like, I don't know. What does it do? I think the attack speed just feels so bad. It's like, doosh, doosh, doosh. It's like every 5 seconds, you're like, what is happening? This is just terrible. Mirana, I don't know. Maybe Mirana should be up a tier, but like, I think I just hate Mirana in general. Like, I guess what else is Mirana buying? I guess that maybe is like, that's kind of the only reason that it's like, maybe I should just bump it up a tier, because I guess you just should buy Ags, because what the hell else are you buying? But still, it feels like, do I really, oh wow, you like arrowed somebody and did some more damage. Who cares? So maybe I'm just biased because I feel like it's bad. Then I see Muertas buying it sometimes, I guess. People have been experimenting like, oh, maybe this is good, but nah, I don't think so. I mean, as a core, you're definitely not buying it. As a support, I mean, I guess, but no, I just feel like people are trying to force it and it's not working. Like, I'd almost still rather just go right-click items as the support and just try to do that. And then there was like a patch a year or two ago when Naga was the support and just like, oh, I'm going to reel people in, guys. That's what I do. And it's just, that just died off a long time ago, and that's not viable anymore. And so you're not buying it as a core, and you're not playing support Naga reeling people. So I still put it here. It probably doesn't deserve poop tier because at one point it was broken, so that's why, but still. And then Nyx is just awkward. Like, you just want all this other damage. So yeah, maybe there's situations where you're like sieging high ground, or, you know, you're defending base and you're losing, so you just need the Ags and it's super luxury late game, but that just sometimes feels bad. Like, you sometimes just, in a lot of games, just want to go for more burst. And then Omni's a weird one. If you're going core Omni, you're definitely not buying it, and I feel like core Omni is like more of the thing that's becoming the main way to play Omni. And support Omni just feels like it's been dead forever. So that's why I'm putting it here. If you do play support Omni, sure, you can buy it. But even then, it's like, I feel like even support Omni, it's only right here. It's not like fundamental to the hero necessarily. So that's why it deserves down here. Then, like, it's almost the same thing with PA as with Magnus. Is like, okay, so they switched it up. I'm not necessarily saying that the damage that this does in the break and everything, because they now put the shard on the Ags, I'm not saying that's bad. Like, fundamentally, it's good if you think about it, but are you spending the gold on this hero to get that? I mean, I guess in certain games where you really need the break, maybe, but like, I don't know, man. That just seems not good. But I mean, maybe 30% is damage or whatever, is more health as damage or whatever, is more than I think, and it's actually like insane in certain games. But I don't know, man. I don't love it. I don't think people are buying it. Plus, the hero's kind of bad now. Then you're only buying the item on core Pugna, really. I mean, you could obviously buy it as a luxury item to upgrade your alt on a support, but that's really not what you're doing, so that's not the point. And then people have just found other ways on Queen of Pain to make the hero effective. Like, yeah, there are games where you can go for the more AoE Shadow Strike, and yeah, you would love to get in a lot of games late, but I think a lot of people are just going for different builds. Like, people have realized, like, this thing doesn't actually do as much as we thought. Like, the slow is great, reapplying is great, like the extra damage once it is gone is great, but I don't know, it just feels like you just rather have other stuff. Like, you're either going for the straight up burst people with Dagon and your ult, or you're going for like more tanky build, more right click tanky build. And I guess in that case you would buy Ag. So I technically, maybe you could argue to bump it up here, but I still think it's just not as good. It's a little bit overrated in that way. And then pretty much you're only buying Razor Ags if you just really need to go high ground. No one goes high ground on your team, and you're like the person that can go high ground, that can buy an item that can do that. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about it, and it's not that great. Like, yeah, sure, you could still buy it, and it still could be good, but I think that going high ground is really the reason that you buy this item. Then we have SF, obviously, if you're going the magic damage build, of course, but I feel like that's not as popular, or at least recently. I don't know. It's very hard to say because the heroes dropped off, but the last time it was good, it was right-click, and so you're not buying it then, so that's why I put situational sometimes. For Silencer, it can feel good, don't get me wrong, but it's Giga Luxury. It just does not have anywhere near the impact of these other support Ags, so that's why I'm putting it down here. And then Sniper, again, this is only a support thing. Sniper support's not good, so I'm putting it down there. You're not buying it as a core, really. I mean, I guess you could. I've seen it here and there, but don't do it. Like, I don't know. That just seems like a meme to me. You just want to go right click. And like years ago, it was really good, but I think recently they nerfed it. Not recently, but they nerfed it since then, and so it's not that great. You know, the Spirit Breaker Ags is just super awkward. They've tried to make this thing viable. They've buffed it a bunch, and I still don't feel like it does anything that like anyone ever buys it. Like, I feel like they're just buying other items. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not the biggest Spirit Breaker player, but I see it in a decent amount of games here and there. I just don't think, does anyone ever buy Ags? Like, is it really even useful that much? I mean, sometimes, but I don't know. It's just an awkward Ags. Then Techies. Techies is kind of just a bad hero in general. I would say, sure, you would like to get it, but I think once people realize what it does, they just don't care anymore, and you just put the sign down, and they can feel like completely useless, so you probably should get something else. Then TA, yeah, you're getting it like as a 7th item, but I think if you're getting it as like a 7th item or something, that it doesn't really count as good later. I don't know, I think it's situational because you're buying it so late. And then Terrorblade, I could hear the argument for it being like an every game item, but again, it feels like a 7th item thing. So that's why I'm kind of putting it down here, because 7th items, I don't think that really counts. That's only like after you've exhausted all your other options, and most of the time you're not going to be seeing it. And then Tide is a weird one because the Tide builds from when it was more popular back in, a few patches ago, I don't think you're really seeing Ags very much. It's very situational where like you just need the extra slow, you want some AoE, but in a lot of cases, you don't need that. Like, you're focusing on your ultimate, or you're focusing on just being super tanky, or, and your shard and all these other things. You're just doing different stuff these days than just being the typical kind of offlaner that it used to be. And so because of that, I think Ags is just situational sometimes. Just sometimes it feels like I just need one gush, and that's all I need on a single target. I don't need the AoE, and I don't need this bigger gush. And then Tiny, it's all about like what build you're going. Supports don't go it. Mids do go it kind of, but only if they're going into more right click, and that's only like super late. Carries definitely don't really go it, but again, they could go at like 7th item, but they're going more like straight up, I'm clicking you in your face, hitting buildings. So it's really only like a mid thing if you're going more for right click, less for magic damage, and it's like a 6th item in a way, or like a 5th or 6th item. Like, you're going that, and you're going for crit, and you're trying to just like blow people up from the trees, which is kind of awkward. And then we have Ursa. I already talked about this. I just think that it's good, don't get me wrong, and you can totally get it in a lot of games, and it can totally like replace BKB and stuff, but there are just specific games where it's like, this Ags is super good, like you have to get it. Like, I don't know, like, let's say you're against a Legion or something, and it's just like amazing because you get dueled and it doesn't matter, you just press R. That's fantastic, right? Or you get stunned, and as long as you get stunned, you press R after you get stunned that time, you survive and you're good. And that can replace BKB or something like that. You can go for this like unkillable build. But that's just kind of a little bit of a meme. It doesn't work every game. And a lot of times you just rather go for more damage or something else, upgrading other items, that it feels like a 7th item in those specific games. That's why I'm putting it in situational. Although I could hear your argument for putting it up here if you just have the build that you feel like you go Ags more often. And then Viper, very situational in terms of just like you have to be against the right heroes, I think. Like a Slark or these other heroes that just kill themselves, just based around your, using your Ags and also like the damage that you're doing, and that kind of stuff. In that it's just very situational what the enemy has and what they're doing, and if you really feel like you can use it on them and that kind of stuff. And then Weaver, it's really just a support item that you're using as a thing to go late when there's nothing else to go and you just want to have that save. And even then, a lot of times I think it's not as good because the range is like 2 inches, so you just have to be like right next to the hero that you're saving in a lot of cases, which can feel pretty bad. So that's why I put it there. Then lastly, for heroes that have Ags that do sort of something, but I kind of hate them and they're bad, I'm putting Anti-Mage here. You're probably going to get mad at me. You're probably going to say this is not right. Anti-Mage is good. People are buying it. It does extra damage, but I just feel like I don't know. I saw people buying it when Medusa was broken because it's good against Medusa. Okay, I'll give that to you. It's good against Medusa. Sure, if there's a storm in the game, I'm saying it's good. Like, it's good in these ways, but I think you can just buy other things. Like, if you're not specifically countering a Medusa, do you really need it? Do you really need this thing? I just don't think you do. Maybe I'm completely off base. Maybe I'm putting this in here to troll you, to get comments below and be like, oh, Anti-Mage is actually amazing. What are you talking about? It's a good, at least some games. I know, I could hear it, but maybe I'm just salty because I like the older Ags, and I think this one is super boring, and I hate it. So maybe that's why I'm putting it here, because I just think it's not fun. Okay, cool. I buy this thing. I do a little damage on the mana burn. Stop it. That's dumb. The other thing is Clinks. I'm a big Clinks player. I love this hero. I just think this stupid ultimate that takes 5,000 years to come out with these little guys that do 0 damage, it's just terrible. I feel like in the past, maybe like 5 years ago or whenever they introduced it, it was like good at one time and it was like melting people and stuff. And I think they've nerfed it since then or like changed it. And now it's just like, what am I doing? Like I cast it and it's like, it like takes 4 years for the guys to come out and they like tickle you and they hit you. Just like, what's going on? This is terrible. Stop. And then DK, I would love for the Ags to be good. Don't get me wrong. And at one point it was broken, but even when DK was good in the last like 6 months to a year, like people weren't even buying it like ever. Maybe 7th item, maybe, but even then it's like, oh, you know, in the past when it like you could have cliff walking and you like were doing insane damage, you had like 4,000 magic, you know, tankiness. It was just doing a billion things. Now it's like, okay, you do nothing. Like I think it like, does it even give you anything? It like makes your model black and that's all it does anymore. Like they just removed all buffs and you spend 4,200 gold just to like change what your hero looks like. I'm pretty sure that's what they did. Obviously I'm being facetious there, but still that's kind of what it does. Marcy Ags, is this broken? Does this actually have an ability in the game that actually has impact or does anything? I think it's, if you read it, I'm pretty sure it just tells you like, makes her whistle for 3 seconds and like does a little jump thing and doesn't do anything. And why would you ever buy this? If you're buying it, you're trolling, I think. I think that's what the thing says. I think that's what the tooltip says. Then morph. Have you ever seen a morph by Ags? You've literally never seen it. And don't pretend that you have because you've never seen it because it's not good. I think they need to change it again. I don't know what to change it to, but like no one buys this. It's not good even when it's broken. I was debating whether or not to put Night Stalker here, but I played a lot of Night Stalker even recently in the last like 6 months to a year, and I've never bought this. I actually didn't even realize that it wasn't the AoE Void anymore. Once I read it, I was like, oh yeah, they did change that. And now it's like this weird, like you can have the silence, but it mana drains you. It's like, what? Who even knew that that was the case? Like what's happening? I don't know. It's very awkward. No one's really bought it ever because it's not good. So I definitely think it deserves here. Oracle's a weird one because I don't know. I think, did I even talk about this in the video? I was thinking about like putting it situational. Like maybe this is harsh and it deserves situational. Yeah, maybe this is harsh. I don't know. I was debating which one to put it in. I think maybe situational because it is good in some situations, but do you really need that? You want other stuff. You want to be defensive. It's a super ultra late game item. Yeah, maybe I'm being too harsh there. And then Shadow Shaman, like, I don't know. I think this thing sucks. Like, oh, I'm shackling you and I'm doing damage to you. I'm tickling you while I shot. Like, what? Dude, the old one was, I thought the old one was way better. Like the Shard and the Axe combined. It was good. I thought it was good. And now it's like, why would you ever buy this? And again, I know Shadow Shaman's been getting a lot of play recently. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are like, wait, this is actually insane. I don't believe it. I'm not buying your propaganda for Shadow Shaman Ags. I don't think it's good, okay? I just don't believe it. I think it's tickling people and does nothing. And so it's a waste of money. Then finally, we actually have another tier that I told you about, which is no one has ever bought this item, so I don't know what it does or what it even does. Really, I don't know. Sue me. And that is Bloodseeker. Now, technically, I do know what it does, but they changed it from the previous patch where they like switched the Ags and the Shard. So now the Shard does the weird like shield thing and the Ags just does more damage. So actually, technically, the only reason I'm putting it here is because I think it's probably like this tier, right? Where before it was this tier. But because like the hero just completely died, I actually don't know where to put it. So that's kind of why I'm putting it here, because no one's ever played this hero since or really bought it. So I don't know if it's like, maybe it's broken again, or maybe it's just like pretty good, but you don't buy it every time, or maybe it's actually kind of trash. You know, that's the real reason I'm putting it here. The other thing is I actually straight up legitimately didn't know what Chen Ags did. Like, I legitimately didn't know. I had never seen Chen. I don't know. Like, I was like, dude, I've never seen it in a game. I've never seen it in a pro game. I've never seen it ever. I've just have never seen it. So maybe you guys can tell me where it goes, because who's buying this? Has Chen existed since they introduced facets? I don't think Chen has been like a hero. All the Chen like lovers in the chat or in the in the YouTube comments, you're like, Chen is amazing, I love Chen, but I don't know. Chen is just, it's super awkward right now. Then I'm putting Earth Spirit here. You're You're probably going to tell me, you don't know what Earth Spirit, blah, 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 blah. But I understand, okay? I get it. I kind of do know what it does. Don't get me wrong. I've seen it when Earth Spirit was good. But I think it's like Giga meme tier. I honestly think it's like almost like Centaur meme tier. Like the old Centaur meme. It's like, oh, I'm turning the stone and the whatever. Oh, this is so good. And I don't know. I don't think it's good. But again, I'm putting it in this tier rather than the nah, I'm good bro tier, because I could hear arguments. I could see if people were playing it that maybe you want to put it in situational. Like, but that's why I'm just like, this is super awkward. Like, I don't actually know if people even know what to do with this thing. So that's why I'm putting it here. And that's the same thing with Enchantress. Like, I think I talked about that in the video. Like, what even is this? I said to put it in this tier, but then I saw someone comment about it and be like, you know, if you have megas and the enemy's pushing, you can like use it on them and then the creeps it down. I'm just like, dude, no one has ever used this ever. So like, I don't think we even know what is happening with this Ags. It was another one, I think that and the Chen one, I like read and I was like, what is this? I don't know what's going on. So that's kind of why I put these here. Again, let me know where you think these go. I'm kind of memeing a little bit with these. I think the lower tier here, I memed a little bit, but really these last two tiers this is like, I don't like the design. I think it's shit. And like, it just doesn't do anything. You never buy it. And then this one is like, they just recently changed it, or it's like super awkward. No one ever buys it. You could probably put all these in the nah, I'm good bro tier, but, it's just like a more weird thing where people don't actually like know what's happening with it because it's new or something like that. So anyway, guys, that is basically the tier list for the Ags. It's not an exact kind of tier list, but just separating into those categories where you're pretty much buying these every single game. It's core to the hero. You're buying these most games, but you don't have to buy it every single game. And this is pretty situational, good sometimes. This is like, I just hate the design. I don't like it at all. I don't think it's good in most cases. And this is just super awkward ones. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you agree, disagree, where you think you should put different ones. I think this is generally a pretty good list, but obviously like things like Anti-Mage, you might get baited into getting mad about that. But yeah, let me know what you think about the list and the categorization in general. And as always, guys, if you like the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.